It's 6 o'clock a.m. and residents in Teshi are ready to get their day started. Many of them come to the Trotro loading point to get transported to Medina, one of Accra's busiest commercial centers. One by one, they gradually fill up Freddy's blue Benz Trotro. Freddy is also a resident in Teshi, and his job is to drive people from Teshi to Medina every morning. On a typical morning like this, his mate calls out for passengers while he goes to pay his daily booking fee with a bookman at the loading point. His route is a fixed one, and commuters on board are aware that they can only get off at a common bus stop along this route or at the last stop in Medina. Freddy and his mate have a full bus now. They set off to Medina while the mate collects the fare from the passengers. This is the daily routine for this master and his mate. I have been an ardent patron of the Trotro system ever since my junior high school days. It is virtually part of my everyday commuting budget, just as it is for the thousands of Ghanaians in all major cities and towns across the country. Trotro is cheap, readily accessible, and almost always an interesting place to witness the local Ghanaian culture. It is just what Matatu is to Kenyans or the Daladala to Tanzanians. It is simply the most reliable way to get around town whenever you're in Ghana.
Commercial transport in Ghana is dominated by minibuses such as these, which is popularly called Trotro. It is at stations like this that thousands of people get to travel all along the country. But is this system getting the needed support to improving on its standards?
Commercial transportation services are a critical backbone to every country's economy. Ghana is no exception. The difference is that in most advanced countries, the processes of commercial vehicles are automated, while in developing countries, the service operations are manually handled by a human being. In Ghana, the service operations in commercial vehicle services is one of the most intriguing experiences to observe. From the choice of vehicles, to the age group of drivers and their assistants, to calculation of fares and frequent stops. Of course, so much more is included. This industry is not just fascinating and interesting to analyze, it is also very, very unique. You may not fancy these Trotros, but it is the most important mode of transport in Ghana. If you doubt this, check out these scenes from the 6th of December 2021, when Trotro workers decided to embark on a sit-down strike to protest against the high rise in price of fuel. The country literally came to a standstill, and the government had no option than to act on their demand by ordering the immediate reduction in fuel prices. Now, to properly understand what the Trotro system has become today, let me take you back to the beginning of the 20th century for some history. The first motor vehicles were imported into the Gold Coast at the turn of the 20th century. Government officials and coastal elites often used these vehicles as part of public display of wealth and status. However, the poor conditions of most early roads made it nearly impossible to use these vehicles. The introduction of more durable vehicles with higher clearance, steadier frames, and interchangeable parts, thus the qualities mostly closely associated with the Model T Ford, which began production in 1908, now opened up new possibilities. British companies like Bedford and Austin dominated the early market to such an extent that the Bedford became a widely embraced nickname for these type of vehicles. Import restrictions were relaxed slightly in the context of World War I to allow the import of highly durable and popular Ford trucks. Dock workers transported disassembled vehicles from cargo ships on the surfboards to shed along the coast in cities like Accra. There, mechanics assembled the engine and chassis, carpenters constructed the wooden body, and artists painted the vehicle body and its colorful inscriptions. These locally assembled vehicles became popular for the transportation of cargo. Food from farms and products from the hinterlands and villages were easily now transportable to big cities all over the country. This evolution and acceptance of the motor vehicle technology at the time revolutionized the transport system. It quickly became the interest of many local entrepreneurs and businessmen to invest in the acquisition of the mummy trucks as they were known then. These entrepreneurs sought to maximize their profits as well as secure some level of control over export-oriented cash crops and commodities. Local acquisition of the mummy trucks in turn led to the birth of a new profession in the Gold Coast, lorry driving. Farmers collaborated with these entrepreneurs to construct main roads connecting their farms to main cities and market centers. This was to rival the rail system that was also constructed by the colonial government to transport such cash crops and commodities to the coast for export. The mummy trucks rapidly increased. That led to the consolidation and preservation of the local businessman's role in a long-standing local and long-distance trading network across Ghana. The profession of driving mummy trucks at this time was highly revered as vehicles were exclusive and skilled drivers were very few. They were often called master drivers, who had assistants also often called the mates. Drivers were essentially responsible for the mentorship and apprenticeship of their mates as they understudied them to one day also become drivers. This tradition remains in existence for more than a century later. Here is Freddie, one of Accra's most experienced drivers, attesting to that fact.
Okay, meet batuni. Allo, okay, mene batuni. Amo atesha amo meet keke. Shimo se e follow kele bambu. Na batuni e wudi. Ni okele batuni no batun le nutumu ni ibali no batu olo le ale no ba ko license e hale before dani e ba show ma se shi bi ane system me kumu beni ikebo yo ne bi ane bele na kandon bi ane gbe ke bi e ke okele ntuni beno wole ni wonyo control my face because if it mo bi anejele mi e yawa wo ke gbomo ba je nu tumo sande me kumele ame ye nu tumo sande kura atuni na pa ni o ke shigale ne ya.
By the 1940s, drivers realized the increasing desire and need of passenger transportation and travel. It started with market traders joining trucks to and from main cities, to people wanting to move from village to towns and cities. These cargo vehicle drivers and their owners agreed to picking up passengers alongside their goods and charge 3 pence or less from passengers, thereby earning an extra income. Now, here is when one interesting fact comes up. Pence was the lower denomination of the currency used at the time. 3 pence at the time was called Tro in the Ga language. So passengers boarding the tracks referred to the system of transport as Tro, just as it was charged by the driver's mate. This is how the name Trotro came about, and also how passenger transport eventually took over cargo transport of the mummy trucks. The mummy trucks later got many nicknames from passengers such as the Bone Shaker and Arrowglass. These nicknames came up from how uncomfortable these vehicles were for passenger transportation. But of course, it was the only way to get on and travel from home to town and back home. Frederick Amma has been in the Trotro commuting business for more than 40 years, with 35 of those being a driver. My conversations with him brings out a lot more information from a first-hand perspective on the industry.
Trotro le opportunity to lole me few jaro grass ke ba bench 33 seater obatu few dan agbene ibalaka abaji na kamaji lole abu efin aji fin ye system me le ba hwe ake noni wo yen ne dan obati gem lo no mi yo ke ba shi bia ni.
The Mercedes-Benz Sprinter is today the most preferred vehicle for the Trotro transport system in Ghana. Other preferred vehicles also include ovens and several minibuses. These vehicles remain the preferred choice due to their mobility, their durability, and ability to withstand the rough nature of Ghana's roads. They are mostly second-hand vehicles that are imported into Ghana from countries such as Germany and the UK and are renovated, or should I say pimped, to suit the nature of the Trotro system. It is almost certain that you are going to find various quotes, wise saying, sometimes proverbs and funny quotes inscribed onto the body of these vans and buses. As our conversation continued, we branched on onto several issues, including the importance of driver unions, insurance, and welfare of Trotro workers. It is clear that these workers, although private, have been unionized under the Ghana Private Road Transport Union, GPRTU, a branch of the Ghana Trade Unions Congress. GPRTU is essentially the mouthpiece of the Trotro and commercial vehicle workers to the government. These workers pay all sorts of dues, which includes that of GPRTU. Taxes and other forms of insurance commitments contribute to the tall list of bills to be paid by these Trotro workers. But none is as monstrous to their work as the rapid increases in price of fuel, especially in this time of soaring inflation rates in the country.
First, say Sabaye. Say Sabaye no. This Alberto. Say this Alberto no. O ton do mienu e mo mienu aburu say so. Etuba pon na do sike na akokoto dize. Ye ka say ye pa de a ye boa enye. So oye abamu pa na pese. O pa bra bia gba. E ma drive adwuma mu. Ama munya house pastor, ama nya wi. Atwam.
The importance of the driver's mate can never be underestimated in the Trotro system of transport in Ghana. Usually, it is the mate that interacts with passengers and potential passengers even before they get to board. Abubakar Mohammed has been working as a driver's mate for almost 10 years at the Medina Trotro station. He shares his experience with me.
Mate, enye yebo mate, yebo di mate eno nkyere say wan go school. Ye won krofo am graduate in den anado apenso. Am we university. Am ne ye ne am ye mate for wa ha. Eno ye one. Secondly, ye can mate eno nkyere say sebio ye yi mate ejuma free ho a. Wuni ejuma bia ye wasase so anase wo sin nimfa so. Sebi yeso ye gina hai, ye timi kan brofo no bitimi kyero bi. Ye den no so sinchen a wo obi na se wo ye mate salute no. Because before say car bed drop or bus stop na nipa mi ensan the 100 cedis manual onim say wefu wa ha nti ade e wo se wo ye hard worker sebe ya adwum e boss e amo aye fra amo the PhD holders.
With digitization rapidly taking over everything, Abubakar doesn't rule out the possibility of it catching up with the Trotro system. He remains very open-minded about it, but only has a simple message for the authorities and government, as the Trotro could soon operate without mates.
Ewiase ko nenim no namre eso ye den esesa. Ekoba ne se amode credit card e de be kire car na kire se wetua. Na kire se driver ni no hia mate. Before say no beba no, aman penifo no mundi kan plan emfansi ho because ewiase ne ko nenim no na kire se development na ye den eba. Until the moment oba be short ye mate for ye juma yentimi nkobokro no na kire se wa prepare juma ye kwakoye deda na ankofa nsem bebre amba.
Other mass public transportation options like the rail network are now being reconstructed and revamped To provide more options for commuters in Ghana, the Trotro has served Ghanaians for decades, and as the nation grows, things are expected to evolve or better still, change. With a possible automation of the system expected to be introduced in a few years, if not decades, brilliant driver's assistants could either face a loss of their livelihood or get an opportunity to apply their minds in advanced industries, or better still be integrated into the maintenance value chain of the automation of the commercial vehicle industry. The Trotro system is perhaps the best example of the Ghanaian ingenuity. In the time of a desperate need for public passenger transportation, we, the people, invented the Trotro to operate within suburbs and main towns, in between stops and then stations. The brilliant operations run by these drivers and mates are so well organized and coordinated. I believe that this system could make use of some serious investment and technological advancements which could further improve public transport for all. Rather than trying to rival the well-established industry with other road-based mass transportation systems, I would urge the government to improve the Trotro system in all its aspects and also learn from its operations in order to implement other complementary forms of public transportation.
An industry that developed from the need of simple commuting has today become the nation's most important way of traveling. With all its quirks and unhandiness, the Trotro system is Ghana's best way to get around. Now the responsibility falls on us and the authorities to ensure the standards are improved and the welfare of Trotro workers are also ensured. Reporting for the Kente Business Journal, my name is Joseph Amwakwata from the Madina Station, Accra.
Thank you very much for watching this video. Please do not forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel Kente Business Journal TV and press the notification bell to stay updated always. This video is sponsored by the Precursor Natural Ginger Drink.
Mommy, I didn't know Precursor Natural Ginger Drink in Kwan or fridge.
Precursor Natural Ginger Drink, drink on Wasovia Jonan Enterprise. Akofa abedwa so a wode ye nea ye Precursor akekedru. Ena hwentia ahyemu mma a wonom wa itumi bua nipadua no.
Can I get Precursor? Oh no! We got Precursor Natural Ginger Drink. Mommy, 3 bottles of Precursor Natural Ginger Drink. Precursor Natural Ginger Drink. Man, no more feel. Where do you should be anymore? Sans alcohol be answering. Or be at him.